Prime Field.
How is this even legal? UConn is 34-0, the number 1 overall seed, and Azzi Fudd is shooting nearly 49, 45, and 95. That is not a college stat line. That is a WNBA player hiding in a UConn jersey during March Madness. And now the committee just confirmed what everybody feared on Selection Sunday. UConn is the number 1 overall seed in the entire 2026 NCAA Women's Tournament. So the real question is not, can UConn win it all? The real question is, who survives Azzi Fudd when the bracket pressure hits? Because this version of Azzi is healthy, experienced, older, sharper, and somehow playing the best basketball of her entire life. She's a 23-year-old fifth-year graduate senior, already finished her degree, now working on an MBA, and playing like she's got one foot in the WNBA draft green room already. And yes, the draft buzz is real. Depending on the board, Azzi Fudd is a consensus top 3 pick in the 2026 WNBA draft, with some projections putting her at number 1 overall. So, if you're another team looking at this bracket, you're not facing a normal senior, you're facing a pro. But wait, this is not just an Azzi Fudd story. This is what makes UConn terrifying. The numbers say this team isn't just winning, they're erasing teams. UConn enters March Madness at 34-0 and went 20-0 in the Big East and is riding a 50-game winning streak. That's the 5th longest winning streak in Division I women's basketball history. They score 88.8 points per game, 2nd in the country. They allow just 0.4, which is number 1 nationally. And the average margin of victory, 38.4 points. Read that again. UConn is not just beating people. UConn is beating people by nearly 40 a night. That margin is the 3rd best single-season average margin in NCAA women's basketball history. Their offensive rating is 120.6, second in the country. Their defensive rating is 68.5, best in America. Their simple rating system is 51.91, also number 1. No matter how you measure dominance, UConn ends up on top. And here's the scary part. This wasn't a season full of coin flips. UConn had just one single-digit game all year. A 72-69 win over number 6 Michigan back on November 21st. They trailed at halftime only once all season. Then they walked into the Big East tournament and won them by 45, 49, and 39. So when the committee made them the number 1 overall seed, that wasn't hype. That was the committee basically saying, yeah, we saw it too. But wait, if you think this is only about team dominance, Azzi's individual season is somehow even crazier when you zoom in. Her actual shooting splits through 34 games are .489 from the field, .446 from 3, and .951 from the line. For spoken delivery, that's basically 49, 45, and 95. That is ridiculous efficiency for any guard, especially one taking real shots, not just wide-open standstill looks, real movement threes, real pressure buckets, real march-type attempts. She's averaging 17.7 points, 3.0 assists, 2.5 steals, and she's made 104 threes. That's the 2nd most made threes in the country. Her 44.6% from deep rank 7th nationally. And all 3 of these totals, at 87 rebounds, 101 assists, and 85 steals, are career highs. That matters. Because the old Azzi Fudd conversation was always about talent mixed with bad luck. Everybody knew she could shoot. Everybody knew she had the pedigree. But injuries kept interrupting the story. Now the story finally has continuity. She played all 34 games, started all 34, stayed healthy all season, and turned all that upside into production. That's why she's now AP First Team, All-American, USBWA First Team All-American, a finalist for the Ann Myers Drysdale Award, and on the Naismith and Wooden ballots. This isn't projection anymore. This is the fully realized version. But wait, as unfair as Azzi is, the true cheat code might be the player standing right next to her. Sarah Strong, and let's get this right because people keep missing it. Sarah Strong is not a freshman. She's a sophomore in 2025 to 26. She was the freshman star during the 2024 to 25 title season. Now she's evolved into maybe the most complete player in the country. Depending on source, she's at about 18.3 to 18.6 points per game, with 7.6 to 8.4 rebounds. around 4+ assists, 3.4 steals, and nearly 2 blocks. She leads UConn in scoring, leads them in rebounding, and she has 111 steals, which ranks 6th nationally. She's the first UConn player with 100+ steals in a season since Gabby Williams in 2016-17. Her field goal percentage sits around 59 to 60%. And the awards, they're absurd. ESPN National Player of the Year, the Athletic National Player of the Year, unanimous Big East Player of the Year, Big East Defensive Player of the Year, unanimous AP First Team All-American, the only unanimous AP First Team pick. She ranks first nationally in win shares, defensive win shares, offensive rating, and player efficiency. So think about what this means for opponents. You can load up on AZ. Cool. Then Sarah Strong kills you. You can collapse on Sarah Strong. Cool. Then AZ drifts to the wing and turns your season into a 3-point montage. This is why UConn feels unfair. It's not one superstar, it's an ecosystem. But wait, there's one more layer to this. And it's the layer that makes this March story explode. The timing. Right now, women's March Madness interest is peaking. Civic Science says intent to follow the women's tournament jumped from 28% to 37% year over year. And that's a massive increase. And 29% of viewers plan to stream it, which is exactly where YouTube audiences live. At the same time, Azzi Fudd's name is catching a perfect storm of momentum. Jordan Brand NIL deal. AP All-American announcement with Sarah Strong. A Self magazine cover. Geico Ambassador campaign. Kava partnership. AAU Sullivan Award finalist. And now the tournament starts with UConn facing UTSA on March 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So this isn't just a basketball story anymore. It's a sports internet story. It's comeback arc plus dominance arc plus draft arc all colliding at once. That's why this feels bigger than a normal 1 seed. And that's also why people keep asking the most dangerous question in this tournament. Can anybody actually beat UConn? Vegas is basically laughing at the field. The Huskies entered the tournament around minus 270 to minus 290 to win the national title. Those are the shortest pre-tournament odds we've seen since 2018. And when you combine that with a 50-game win streak, a near 40-point margin of Cervita victory, the number 1 overall seed, and Azzi Fudd playing like this, the bracket starts to look less like a tournament and more like an obstacle course for everybody else. Now, one last thing. People love saying Azzi Fudd might be the greatest shooter in UConn history. That needs one word of nuance, talent. Because if you're talking pure shooting ability, pure shot making, pure off-ball gravity, there's a real case. Even Gino Auriemma has called her arguably the best shooter in the country. But if you're talking career volume records, injuries kept her from chasing names like Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis or Sue Bird. So let's say it correctly. Azzi Fudd might be the most gifted pure shooter UConn has ever had, and now she finally has the healthy season to prove it on the biggest stage. That is why Azzi Fudd in March Madness is unfair to everybody else. So here's what I want to know. Does anybody in this bracket actually have the firepower to stop UConn, or are we watching the most inevitable title run in the country? Comment your final 4. Subscribe for more Prime Field breakdowns. And send this to the one friend still pretending this UConn team looks beatable.
Prime Field!